everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Ljubljana Talks here at IBTM 2023. With Gorazd and Jan, we have another amazing speaker with us, Alistair Turner with IBTM World Trends Report. Oh, there's so many questions and so many answers you have to give us. Alistair, thank you for being with us and taking your time to be here on
Very
Ljubljana
welcome.
Talks.
Lovely to be here.
Welcome to Ljubljana in a way. The first thing I have to say, it's such a tremendous work that you are doing with the report. What would you say would be the most used new word in the report?
I'm not sure it's a new word, but if you did a search along my report under the word AI, it is ubiquitous throughout. It is everywhere. AI across creative industries, across business industries, it's everywhere. And you know what? I make no apology for the fact that AI is crawling all over the report. It has a fundamental impact on what we do as an industry. So yes, it's everywhere.
Yeah. So what sets your report apart from others, actually? So why should everyone in the industry read this report?
Well, I think the main thing that I'm immensely proud of it. It's 70 pages, over 70 sources. But what's interesting is what I like to do through the report is it takes not just the research and the intelligence from within the events industry, it looks at what we call vertical markets. So we have a look at finance, we have a look at automotive, all the industries that invest in events, because we know if they're doing well, then we're doing well. I also did one on esports recently because it's a dynamic young industry that gives us an idea of what new industries think of events. And again, we take those processes, we take those experiences and that data, we cross-examine it geographically. So we look at Asia Pac and Africa and the Middle East, and we try and draw global conclusions across it.
Very interesting. Coming back to AI, what is the major story you would like to share about AI with us?
I've tried to simplify it.
Okay.
I'm calling it the 3 A's in English. The first is accessibility. Accessibility to me is going to be one of the most profound trends of 2024, and it's directly fueled by AI. Now that's everything from sound bending to audio captioning to superpowering accessibility solutions for people who, let's face it, have previously been unable or unwelcome at events. So actually that accessibility is really important. Second one is automation. Automation is going to help event organizers who are under extreme pressure at the moment to be all things to all people, to make their jobs easier. So automation will help them do that. And the third one is augmentation. And AI is going to superpower this idea of laying on a creative canvas on top of a live event. And that can be everything from digital creativity to more information being sucked into the event as well. So if you take those 3 things, they're 3 A's, but they're also the 3 things that event organizers want most. Save me time, give me closer engagement with my audience, and open my event up to more audiences.
It's a really good sum of things that you've just, with 3 A's. But to create a report is to have a really good insight into the current situation and the current state of things. So what kind of a projection into the future are you making?
The report is at the same time hugely optimistic and hugely depressing. I actually wrote the report and I was just finishing off when the tragedy of 6th of October took place, 6th and 7th of October. And it changed my worldview and I wanted to go back and re-edit it. Look, the reality is next year, 4.2 billion people will vote. In 2024, more than half of humanity will vote. That means that, in my view, 2024 will be the most important year for humanity in the 21st century by a country mile. So why is that important to events people? Events people stand for authentic communication. Now, I said on the stage just then in front of a very large audience, I said, you may disagree with what I'm saying about the Trends Report, you may agree with what I'm saying, but you all know that I said it. The moment I walk out that room, the moment that content walks out the room, I could be translated into Spanish, I could be translated into Mandarin, I could be replaced with a bot, it could be manipulated in any way. So if you've got 4.2 billion people voting, this exchange of personal information in front of people has an incredible value. So I predict both a scary year, but a year where I feel like events will need to lean in and show their massive value to these debates.
It's a very interesting point you're making with the elections and the influence of general political situation onto our industry, because I think often, I don't know, destinations or even organizers are not aware of the external factors that can impact their lives or their existence in, through such a thing as election. Do you think that there's a link to, let me put it this way. Sure, there's going to be a lot of elections. Some of them are within totalitarian regimes. We know who will win. We know some of the elections we are hoping that we don't know who will win or whatever. But how do you project the happenings of the world, of all these pillars, onto our sector?
I think one of the interesting things that I hope the report does is draw conclusions from world events, from ecological, geographical, geopolitical, economical, and draws conclusions that affect it. The simple one is things like sustainability. So sustainability is a ubiquitous trend across all industry. So how do we bring that into the events industry and make changes around it? And we look at international travel and things like that. I think the second point is, what are the I've looked intensively, probably over the last, I think it's nearly 10 years I've been doing this. What are the ideal conditions for success for the events industry? And I've identified them as economic growth, industry dynamism, so industries that change, things like Internet of Things, things like that, and anything that fuels the knowledge economy. All of those things mean we have product launches because there's innovation, we have conferences because there's knowledge exchange, we have growth, so we have exhibitions to sell products and things like that. All of those hit us. And when business is thriving, they want to motivate business, so we have incentives as well. So all of those things you can glean from the data that comes in. And the minutiae that you find in there is, okay, we've seen the data, we've adapted the trends, but okay, what are the things that are coming up that perhaps we need to go and find out, we need to investigate, so that we can perhaps predict what 24 and 25 will look like.
I just heard from Julius Solaris that we live in a golden era of events. That's what he said on the stage. But on the other side, the problem with sustainability is the growth, actually. We are still obsessed with growth. But the Mother Nature is showing us that it's not possible to grow because there is a certain limit. And at the end of this process, we come to entropy, which is explosion at the end. So basically, that's happening now. So is it possible to grow, or we need to think about degrowth?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. Do you know what was interesting? I got a question yesterday, which was, what's going to happen to businesses post-pandemic? Because we have to remember we're still post-pandemic. Julius is absolutely right. And I couldn't agree with him more in terms of this golden era of what's happening. But what I said is, we've got to stop looking at the events industry as what happened before 2019. There is a completely new model, a completely new model of events that isn't about people in the room. We are now being evaluated on strategy and creativity and engagement, and based on what I was just saying in terms of the political thing, authenticity. So this isn't about growth of the delegate. This isn't about growth of the business. It's about the value that we put on there. And it's not about numbers. It's actually about value. So I think the events industry has for too long tried to quantify itself through numbers when it doesn't need to. It needs to quantify itself through more emotional systems. And I think that's where we get the value. It's a hard thing to do, but we have to do it like that.
Here we come to clash, which is always on the table. Clash between creative part of the industry and logistics, between meeting architects and those who are just providing and moving people from A to B. So are we in the future part of creative industries, or we are part of, I would say, tourism, where they are putting us or pushing us actually?
I mean, I have for a long time and have never wavered of that we are part of the creative industries. And I'll tell you why I'll agree with that even more, is because AI has just made lots and lots of those systems irrelevant. AI will automate all those difficult things that we do. They will free up time. Now, what do you do when you have time? You get creative. And my view is that this is, and again, this is why I agree with Julius so much. This is a golden era. This is a chance where all these great event professionals who for too long have been working late, underpaid, understaffed, trying to move chair A to table B, we don't want them doing that. We want them being creative masterpieces, and that way the content shines.
In a way, you are proposing that basically the essence of our business has to change. Because, moving the chair from one shape to the other, the tables up and down, it's similar to the hotel business, which is based on a business model from 1930s, which is a room, a window, which is a real estate, selling the square meter into, going into the experience, creating the added value.
Someone once told me the great metaphor here. He said, do you think Steven Spielberg sets up the camera, puts the lighting in there, the set design, and says, quick, someone put a story in the middle? Yeah. He doesn't. He says, I've got a story to tell. He creates the story, and then he says, no, I'm going to put the set around it. And for too long, again, we put the value on the camera and the set, and it's the story at the center. An event is a medium to tell our stories, to create great content. And I mean, in an exhibition like this here at IBTM, I mean that as the sales story, the discussion that's taking place, the relationships are built. That's the story. The infrastructure built around it, as beautiful as it is, should ever be secondary.
From what you're saying is that perhaps if we look into the broader society, that perhaps we should be talking about a change of values.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is a new trend. I think it's one. Do you know what it is? It's always been there. Has it been valued enough by business? Because let's face it, I always say about the events industry, no event has ever happened without a business or a brand, right? So this is all about, does business value events as a medium for talking and doing what their objective is? There's another great quote that I had was, no CEO of a major brand has ever lent out his door and said, quick, get me an event. He said, get me value, get me sales, get me marketing, get me presence, and the person says, great, we'll have an event. So this is about businesses understanding, especially because they lost events for 2 years during the pandemic, just how much they miss engagement, authentic conversations, the chance to have informal chats, alchemy of ideas, collaboration of ideas in medicine, science progression. This is where we're at, And again, we've been talking about this for a long time. Maybe it took a pandemic for everyone else to catch up.
Yeah. In the last 2 days, we talked a lot. As I said, one buzzword we covered AI. Then second one, sustainability. We covered a little bit, not completely. And one was also coming out, which is out of the box thinking. Quite a lot of destinations is saying that. But what is actually out of the box thinking? If we take into consideration your research, actually.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about creativity. Maybe it's about trying to look different from the person next to you. Okay. Maybe it's about stunning crowds into action. Maybe it's about that. I think this idea of out the box thing, I think, do you know what? My view is creativity is always built upon intelligence. Mm. It's no one just comes up with an idea about an event. It takes intelligence and understanding of audience and demographics and feeling and design, and that's what it comes out. So sometimes this out of the box thing, it almost sounds like it just jumped out. It didn't. It's been built on a platform in intelligence and research and demographic, and then the idea is incredible. So I think a challenge whether I need more out of the box thinking. What I want is loads and loads of event creatives everywhere. What I want is all those people that we lost to the TV and broadcast industries to come back with their learning. And I want a load of event professionals that have been schooled in broadcasting to go into broadcast industries and bring their wares there as well. And that's where I think we'll fit.
Amazing. Coming back to the content which we are producing as here actually at IBTM, are we good in that in our industry? Is something missing actually? How well we promote our destinations by your point of view, and is it possible to control the content, or this is absolutely impossible? Because some brands, always believes that they can control the content. I just saw a big actually affair of Coca-Cola in Croatia It happened 1 week ago, and they couldn't control the catastrophe around. But I will not go into details. But
I heard a brilliant. I don't know
Okay.
whether you know the films of Christopher Nolan, who did the Batman and Inceptions and things like that. And he says the project is never over until the audience is fed back. And I think marketing needs to do that. I think if you think about marketing mediums, and I think this is a relevant conversation to have around the events industry. If we look at the old school of marketing, a direct piece of mail that goes into your magazine is a projection. An advert on a wall is a projection. An event is a conversation. A conversation between a brand and its audience. So that makes marketing a continual positive loop. So that's again why events are growing in amongst other marketing mixes. There's some amazing research by a financial institution actually in the UK called AJ Bell. And they track which marketing mediums get axed during times of economic downturn. Events were always the top. If it goes at, they've always been the top. At the moment, they are now at the bottom. We are now the last thing to get axed because they understand that if they want to have conversations with their customers, their stakeholders, their clients, their citizens, then you do it as a conversation. You don't project, you converse.
So, in a way, we've become an integral part of modern business making, put it this way.
And social media has a massive thing to change. So if you look at everything from what you watch on the TV, everyone turns around and says, no one goes to online and just sends a social media. They might do. They might take a picture of their cup of tea, but that's not very good. They need a trigger. They need an instigation point. It's always an event. It's a TV show. It's something they saw. It's something they went to. That's when they take it to online. It's because they've been triggered into an action. The most social media exposure you'll ever get is around a major sporting event or a major music event. That's when people take to online because they're sharing something that happened. Events trigger other forms of marketing. And it used to be that the advertising would be, that the event would support the advert. Now the advert supports the event. And what you're increasingly seeing is major brands turn around, instead of saying, hello guys, so this is my great Coca-Cola can or my great chocolate bar, they'll say, we're doing an event. Why don't you come and see us there? And that's what advertising looks like now.
So, do you think, because, we are at the trade show, and trade shows have a specific way of designing them, being designed, and how they're run and how it's done. I mean, IBTM World, so many brilliant changes in terms of sustainability and all that. Do you think that everything that we discussed will impact in how trade shows are designed in the future?
I hope so. I think that it was an interesting conversation I had with an event professional. And I said, what is it you event professionals, why are you always last to adopt things? And he said, because I have one shot. And he said, if I have one shot, don't make me the most innovative person in the room. So I think I need to be. I think we as event people, we need to be forgiving of ourselves. We are not going to see IBTM change overnight, and nor should we expect that to happen. What I hope will happen, it will carry on evolving in a really, really smart way. And I think we're sometimes a bit harsh on our industry events. We turn around and said, it looks the same. Okay, the carpet's the same. It's red carpet. But you know what? Look at this. We're on a podcast, but we're surrounded by a really cool booth with a really, really cool, innovative solution. I'm looking at really, really cool lighting displays. I'm looking at innovative marketing that goes beyond just showing pictures of countries. I'm seeing more people in shops. Do you remember that? Beyond features, values. They're selling values and benefits. They're not just selling products. So do you know what? It is changing. And we need to, I think, as responsible marketeers or in responsible industry, we need to notice that a bit more than sometimes I think we do.
And the carpet is recyclable.
And the carpet is recyclable, and it's ethical, and there's new sorts of carpet out, which is cheaper to produce as well.
Yeah, that's true.
There's so much going on, and we don't notice it. So I think sometimes we should assume, as I would want from an event, that my intentions were valuable and I've thought through a lot, instead of assume that they weren't and they were terrible.
Guys, IBTM Trends Report is a must read. But anyhow, can you wrap up this report in 5, I would say, the major things you would like to share with our audience? Let's try to wrap up like that, I know it's difficult because it's really, really, a lot to read there, but
I think
Let's try it, you know? Okay.
I'll try and do this briefly because I think first and foremost, things are going to get scary. Things are going to get scary out there. I think what's most important for the events industry is we stick to our success, which is engagement, which is authenticity, strategy, and creativity. If we do that, if we hold our nerve, not only will we grow as an industry, not only will businesses respect and like us more, but actually our place in the world will expand. And I think that could be really exciting.
Amazing. And we finish usually with short fire questions. So these are easy ones, but you can comment on that.
Of course.
Front stage or backstage?
Me personally,
Yes.
front stage. I'm a massive show-off.
Okay. Jan?
Democratical or not democratical elections?
If only we could choose. No, sorry. Democratic. Democratic.
Okay. Next one. Cat or dog?
Cat. Actually, cat.
Okay. Can you explain a little bit more?
I was
No?
brought up by my parents had cats, so I'm actually allergic to cats and dogs, so
Okay.
I don't have any. But I think cats.
Okay, and Jan,
walk by
Jan will
themselves.
finish with the last one. Okay.
Fire or ice?
Oh wow! Can I cheat? Life is about balance.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you very much for finding a
welcome.
balance between the two of us here at Ljubljana Talks. And you were the last guest on the Ljubljana Talks in this edition. So thank you very much for your time.
It's been really great. What a great conversation. Thank you.
And we look forward to not only reading this report, but to see what the next one brings.
1 year in this events industry in this world. Who knows what November will bring next year? But I can't wait. Thank you so much, honestly.
Thank you also to our audience, and thank you for tuning in.